Hello, everybody. It's Chris from AppSumo community team, and we're joined with Thomas today from Bluepic, who's going to be demoing Bluepic. Believe it or not, we're going to be covering the roadmap, some best practices for using Bluepic, and then going over the AppSumo deal and some of the price plans, so you get the full demonstration of Bluepic. If you have questions, please submit them into the comments now on YouTube, and we'll cover some of them as well. But please, Thomas, introduce yourself. I know I've kind of done that briefly.
Yeah.
And for anybody in the audience, please let us know where you're tuning in from.
Yeah, right. Great. Thank you, Chris. Very happy to be here. I am one of the co-founders of Bluepic. We're a 3-person team right now, and we've been doing Bluepic for roughly 2 years, a bit longer. There's a bit of a backstory. This is not our first company. We're from Germany. I'm in Cologne right now, and I'm very excited to share what we've built with everyone.
Awesome. So, why did you originally decide to build Bluepic?
Yeah, so the original version of Bluepic was called Toolpic, and it was originally, we did some great renaming there. It was originally developed for a very large German NGO or like political movement. We were doing like climate justice activism, that kind of stuff, and it was this very big movement called Fridays for Future. And one of my friends, Maurice, who's one of the co-founders at the time, he was part of this national team organizing the marketing, the content creation effort. Like we had roughly 400 local groups who were communicating their activities through social media, and there was this push towards one unified brand design, but it's very difficult to implement one brand design in a grassroots style activist community. And what my friend came up with was this he was a software developer, to develop this tool where he would implement a bunch of graphic templates, but the twist was that they could only be edited through a form-like interface, with all of the design aspect being automatic. And in this way we could sort of enforce the brand design guidelines, and this worked really well because we gave all of these people a tool that was way easier to use than anything they've had before. And at the same time, the results were always guaranteed to be on brand, because doing something off brand just wasn't an option provided. And then a bunch of other NGOs from this domain approached us and asked if we could develop this tool for them as well. But at the time, it wasn't really scalable. It wasn't. It was like a custom software job, which there was no user management. There was nothing. It was like the equivalent of a movie script written on like a piece of tissue paper. We had to sort of build the whole thing up from the grounds and make it into a scalable startup. And when I'm saying we, this is Marcus and I, we were friends with Maurice. At the time, Marcus and I had founded a media agency from a similar background, mostly doing like sort of slightly political stuff. And so we knew each other. He knew that we had commercialized what we were doing before from this area into this company. And so the idea sort of came natural to do the same thing for this software prototype which he developed. And then from there, everything spiraled out of control.
It's usually the case that you do a project or something, and then you go, oh, actually, I can create a scalable solution and build it into a product. So it's great that you found something and then created something else, and that is now Bluepic. Before, when we were speaking, you said you didn't have like lots of design experience, but I'd love for you to touch on how design comes into Bluepic and share some best practices as well.
Sure. Right. So I haven't studied design or had any formal education in this topic. I'm sort of self-taught, did some graphic design, some web design, that whole stuff. My colleague Marcus, he does have more education than I do, so I rely on him a lot for this kind of stuff. But I would say this approach where I had to sort of learn graphic design on my own while at the same time developing a graphic design software also helped me in thinking about graphic design in a very specialized way, that is thinking about template design, which is slightly different from designing a graphic. When I design a great infographic for like a Instagram story, or we call it share pick in the business. I'm not sure if this is an internationally recognized term. It's like a infographic, branded graphic for social media. When you're designing a template where all sorts of assets and objects can be replaced by something else, images can be replaced by something else, text can be short, long, way too short, way too long, layouts can be dynamic. You have to design for all possible variants of this template and not just the one you're looking at. And this can be difficult. And one of the things you learn early on is just to do edge case testing. This is not something you do when you just design a random graphic, but if you design a template, you have to fill it out with a bunch of different increasingly extreme types of input to see if it still holds up. And that's also the magic of Bluepic, is that it does hold up. We have this software which allows you to have very extreme inputs, way too much text, way too little text, while at the same time still getting a decent result that is, as I said, on brand.
Yeah. Like for people that are like completely new to branding and design, is Bluepic the best solution, or is it more created for those that are a little bit more technically advanced?
Difficult to say. I'm not sure. I feel like this area of template-based graphic design or template-based content creation is something that has been very popularized over the last few years, and it hasn't been around all that long. I mean, people have shared, I don't know, Photoshop files amongst one another, and then they can edit the stuff. But I think the first time people started sharing templates that are super easy to use on a large scale was when Canva came into the picture. But Canva is not all that great for developing your own brand's templates. I mean, they have a million different templates, but if you're very particular about your brand design, probably none of those really work for you. So you need your own. And then it turns out that for template designers, for real professional graphic designers, Canva is not that enjoyable to work with, to say the least. And then I mean, you have to make this compromise. If you create templates in one software where they're also used, you have to make a compromise between the skills of the designer and the skills of the user. So the designer can probably do a way better job in Photoshop than they can in Canva, but the user can't. Even if you give them written instructions, change this, do that, people tend to inadvertently mess it up sometimes. And if you do it in Canva, you can do great designs. But if you split those in between, if you say, okay, the designer can work in Photoshop, but then the template can be edited in Canva or something even more simple than Canva, now you've got a solution that is way better suited for this brand design focused content creation. And I would say that Bluepic, in my opinion, is the best solution here. But doing this brand-based template content creation may not be the best solution for your company. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And a lot of people in the audience and the AppSumo community are solopreneurs that have brands or manage brands as agency owners. So I think it would be wise to go into a demo and then cover some questions as they come up, and just show how it works. So I will get your screen up. Perfect. Your screen is showing.
That's great. Do you want me just to start and show the software?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. All right. So we are at id.bluepic.io right now. The first thing you have to know about our software is that it is sort of fragmented into different tools. There are 3 different apps, but you can sort of jump from one to the other. The lines of whether this is one platform or 3 distinct ones is a bit blurry. This is the sort of the starting hub. And if you go into Bluepic Studio, this is the template builder, and this is sort of the heart of what Bluepic is all about. I've already prepared 2 projects, and I want to sort of take this time to show you how to build and replicate this design. But before I do that, I want to show you what the output of Bluepic is. So I've already built this template here, and what I can do with it is share it in this very minimalistic editor interface. I've got this template link. I can send it to any project partner. This is a fictitious example which I've created in the AppSumo brand. The idea is that maybe AppSumo could share a template like this with the sellers on their platform, and then the people who sell it could copy and paste some of the great testimonials they've got and turn it into this Instagram story, which they can share very quickly and very easily. And what is most important, without messing up the AppSumo branding in any way. And this is a very minimalistic, very simple template. It's got this input form here, which essentially only has 2 input fields. It's got one for text and one to upload an image, which is connected to this logo down here. But what you can see is, as I'm taking our text here, is that things are moving on their own. So this image here is maintaining a fixed gap to the, I'm saying image, this is an image object in the design. This is the tacos rating, and it's maintaining this fixed gap no matter what kind of text input I'm putting here. And if I put in way too much text, it'll start shrinking on its own. And you've got these, I actually don't know how to call this in English. Could you help me out? This apostrophe, I don't know. Anyway, so the text will automatically shrink at some point, allowing for even longer text. I could set a limit to how many characters I could enter here. So the idea being, I hope that this is what I'm demonstrating, is that you've got this template which sort of adjusts on its own to various types of input. I could change this logo for something else. For example, I could upload the AppSumo logo. AppSumo selling on AppSumo, I don't know. But the idea is that anyone could upload their logo and it's automatically adjusted in size to fit in here. The text is adjusted in size, and you can do very complex stuff with this. And I want to, you don't have to do complex stuff. You can do simple stuff as well, but you can do very complex templates, which at the end of the day are very, very easy to edit and very safe to edit. So I'll jump into a template editor. I've prepared this blank version of this template just to save some time. I've already added some of the layers and objects here. I have this rectangular background, which is just green. This is the project editor in Bluepic Studio. Got this darker background down here. I have the AppSumo logo as an image object. I have a text object, which will be static. I won't touch this at all. And I have this headline, which is also static. And I want to focus on adding the dynamic objects, connecting the editable objects to their respective input fields, and then implementing this responsive behavior where one object adjusts its own position or perhaps size to a change in the content of another object. So I'll start by adding a text in the center here. And I know that, I'm not sure, Chris, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're saying anything.
No, I took myself off the screen, so it's completely you in this demo. So I've just removed myself just so that it's you with.
Great. So I just want to go through this quickly because this is not the most interesting part. Just watching me design this template, I have to come up with a text here. Let me copy and paste the one I had before. And this is sort of like any other old graphic design tool, right? Traditional one is very similar to stuff like Figma or Photoshop or whatever you're used to. You've got all your layers and all the properties of your layers. Got stuff like colors and filters and visibility and positions and everything. And I'll get into the more interesting stuff in a minute. I will bring this text down. I will adjust its origin. This is the first property which you may not find in any traditional graphic design tool, because Bluepic is all about creating these dynamic, responsive templates. So stuff like directionality really matters. In what direction does text grow? Does it grow from the center outwards, so up and down, or does it grow from the top down? And there are a few properties that are, I don't want to say unique to Bluepic, but unique to creating templates, like this origin property and other things like that. Oops. And so I'll add the image with the taco rating. I have this image asset library, which I've already uploaded this into, so I don't have to upload it from my device. And for now, I'm just positioning everything on this canvas. I will duplicate this text, add this element. This will be done quickly. Don't worry about this. Duplicate this again. Bring it down here. And so now oh wait, I also need the logo. Almost forgot about that. All right, so I've got the objects on the canvas, but right now the user can't edit anything because I have not connected any input fields. And also, if the user were to edit this text and it would grow, the other objects would at this point not respond to it. So this is the next part I will do. I will first connect input fields, and this is the point where Bluepic starts becoming different from other graphic design tools. Essentially, every property has this status dropdown, and you can connect any property to an input field by switching its status to field. So I've got this text object selected right now. It's got this content property, and I will connect the content property to an input field. And then I can do some, I've got some parameters. I could give it a description like insert your text. I can decide, do I want to allow multi-line? Do I want to set any limit to the amount of characters, stuff like that? Just ordinary form builder stuff. I will also connect this images source property to an image input field and give it a description, upload your image. And if you go into the input fields view, here you can manage, delete, change the order of all the input fields you've created. You can go into the preview tab and see if everything works correctly. Although if I was to change anything here now, that would override the default values. I have the sandbox mode here where I can make temporary edits, which then go away. And you can see that right now, these objects here and this one is not responding to a change in the text. So that's the next part we'll do. And this works, it's a bit similar to how Microsoft Excel works. It's a bit technical. This is the part where maybe we might lose some graphic designers who are mostly used to this very, very easy Canva workflow. But to me, this is a very rewarding to do something a bit more technical. You can, instead of having static properties for example, the Y position of this image object here, I can give it an expression, and I can use other variables in this expression, like the same way how in Microsoft Excel you could say, okay, so this cell's value is the sum of cells B10 and B11 or something like that. You can say, okay, this object's Y position is the sum of, or not the sum, the subtraction of the top edge of text 2 minus 50 pixels, for example. And this will guarantee that as the top edge of the text changes, because I'm adding more text or less text, now the object is moving alongside it. And you can do very simple expressions like this one. This is not very complicated. I'll show you where you can find these sub-properties or variable names in a minute. But you can also do very complex stuff. You can do like conditional logic, have if-else statements, switch statements. You can have, for example, you could implement like 3 distinct color options, the green one, the black one, the blue one. And then as I'm selecting these color options, a bunch of different objects are responding with conditionals like, okay, if blue is selected, turn this gray background off, or if I could say if this text has no content, I don't want to display these objects. You can do complicated stuff. You can do simple stuff like this, for example. For this object here, I will. Okay, let me go into the subproperties. I have this text2 object, and most of the time when you're designing dynamic templates, the thing that changes the most is text. If an image changes, it doesn't really matter all that much. But if text changes, that usually means that something has to move, because if you add text, it tends to overflow. But if you want to confine it, you have to make space for it, or have the text shrink on its own. So the first part is text objects have this blue outer bounding box, and the green inner box, which is a little difficult to see on the green background, is what space the text currently takes up. But if I add more text, at some point it's going to hit this blue bounding box and shrink on its own. So this way I can already prevent lots of overflow errors by confining text to a certain bounding box. But this is not an revolutionary idea. The interesting part is when you make other objects respond on their own, and you have these sort of subproperties, which there's a certain syntax, but you can look these values up. If I go in here, for example, I can open what we call the smart expression editor, and then I've got this clickable way I can go in here and select the text2 object, and I have all of these descriptions of all the different subproperties which I can, or variables which I can use in my calculation. So for example, for the X position of this text object I have selected right now, I might want to use the text2 left edge property, which returns the X position of, as you might guess, the left edge. And then I can subtract 9 pixels from here. You can also find a bunch of functions in here, mathematical functions, to make this a little more easy to start with. At some point, you will get used to just typing these expressions, because it is quicker. But you can use these clickable functions same way as in Microsoft Excel, I guess. And then the Y position will be text2.top, maybe minus 25. Let's do this one quickly. I will add this to I will glue it, I guess, to the bottom edge of the text. Let's do 50. And the easiest way I could do now is say text2.right and have the sign stuck to the right edge, and I can show you what that would look like. If I type in or subtract text here, it would move alongside the right edge of the entire text box. But I can also make it stick to the bottom, the last line of text, except that the calculation is just slightly more complicated, and I don't think it's necessary to explain right now. You can look all of this stuff up in our, oops, this is the wrong property, in our documentation on learn.bluepic.io. So just simply and that's done it. And that's it, essentially. I can now publish this template to any user. And now I've done this in sort of the quick way. It might take you a bit longer to create a template in Bluepic Studio than it would take you to build it in Photoshop or Canva, because you've got these additional steps to go through. You have to configure your input form. You have to come up with the expressions that give your template responsive character. But if you spend that extra 30 minutes on it, the template will be so much more powerful and so much easier. And I think the net gain is very great for companies that care a lot about their brand and want a very fast way of editing their designs.
Yeah, I would say that it probably, would you say that it takes a little bit longer to get things set up, but then once it's set up, then you can add in new images and new text
Yeah.
and just keep that, and that way the branding stays the same, but the messaging changes, but the style is the same.
Yeah, we have different kinds of customers. Some of our customers have this problem where they are sharing templates with a very, very wide group of people. This could be like maybe trade fair organizers, which want to send templates for announcing participation to all guests, all speakers at their event. So you might have 2,000 different people from different backgrounds filling out this template. And so in these cases, what the customer mostly cares about is a brand safe guarantee that people aren't going to mess with the brand colors. But we also have a different group of customers who just have to output lots of content all the time, and they just want something that's quicker. Because if you have this template set up, right, this is just way faster than opening Canva or Photoshop. You just go to this link, or I'll show you the team app where you can find a gallery of templates in a minute, and you can edit your templates in this form interface. It does take a minute. I use this software myself for some agency jobs, which we still do sometimes. And it just sometimes it can take hours of repetitive work down to minutes. Just even if it's simple, even if you know exactly what you have to do with Photoshop, it's still going to be way faster doing this with Bluepic. But setting up this initial template might take you an hour or two, depending on complexity and how much you've used Bluepic before. But this pays off greatly if you use your templates many times, or perhaps use them in the batch editor to create hundreds of drafts, because you just can't beat that with traditional design tools. So I want to show you the way from how to get from a template in Bluepic Studio to actually sharing it via a link, or embedding it on your website, or using it with your team in our dedicated team app. So I've published this template now. You can at any time make changes to this design, even if you've already embedded this on your website or passed it out to partners. You can still make edits to the draft version of the project. And then once you publish, we have this version history. There's like a public version and your private draft version in Bluepic Studio. So if I can jump with this widget to these different apps, but I've already got these open. This is Bluepic Social. This is the one part of our software that we've taken a lot of care to do mobile optimization for. I mean, you're not going to run Bluepic Studio on your mobile device. That just doesn't make sense. But you've got these templates, which are so simple to use in this form-like interface, that it really lends to a mobile first workflow. But it's also great on desktop. It doesn't look very impressive now because I only have one template in here. If I switch into a different team, got this demo space, this is what it might look like. This is also still a few templates. Depending on what you're trying to do, you might have 100 templates. We actually have one customer who built 300 different templates. They are very similar from one to another. There's like 6 versions for each type, but you can build loads of different templates. And this is something maybe franchise companies might be interested in. Like the marketing department builds a bunch of templates, and then each franchisee gets access to this team app, social.bluepic.io. They can log in. They don't have to deal with any of the template building part. This runs on your mobile device as well. And in here, let me go back to the template I've built before. In here, you can select all your templates and then go into the editor and create a design, create a draft. You could also use the batch editor, maybe upload data from a CSV file or from Google Sheets. You can actually copy and paste data from like a table and then create 50 different drafts at the same time. You can save drafts to your team's dashboard. So maybe let me do an example here. Oops, mistyped.
And this is a biased review.
This is my honest opinion about what Bluepic is, and this will be as of now, this will be the opinion of AppSumo themselves, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. And then I can export this, and this does take down. We have these download credits, so depending on which tier you buy on AppSumo, you get a different amount of credits. So now I've used 1 credit to download 1 draft of this template. You can also save drafts to your Teams hub, not downloading them, but saving them. I can demonstrate this in this other space. I think the hub looks a bit more interesting in here. Might have some loading issues. So in the team hub, you have your drafts, and I'm not sure why this isn't loading right now. Well, we are early stage, so
Yes. We do have a couple of questions that have come in that
okay, yeah.
is
Stop
about
me at
this.
any time, or I'll keep talking
No,
forever.
that's fine. So we've got a question about, is there a collection of pre-configured templates that we can select rather than having to build everything from scratch?
Yeah, we've been getting this question a lot. The answer is no, we don't have any pre-made templates. And this is something a lot of people are urging us to do. So this is something, before doing the AppSumo launch, we were pretty convinced that having these pre-made templates is not something that necessarily is great for our software, because we view Bluepic as like the professional tool for crafting templates from scratch. But I get that sometimes you just want to get started quickly, or you want to, maybe you don't have a very defined brand design, and so you just want to adjust something to start quickly. So this is something that has become up for discussion again, but I can't make any promises right now. We are please split on this topic, because creating pre-made templates is actually a lot of work, and having like 10 or 20 or 50 is probably not enough. You need hundreds, or at least the expectation usually is that you can compete with Canva with the amount of ready-made templates you have. So having 20 or 30 might be easy, but to make ready-made templates really useful, you have to have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it takes up a lot of time. And the question we're asking ourselves right now, is this the biggest priority for Bluepic right now? Do we need to have hundreds of ready-made templates, or do we need to improve on performance, or add other vital features, or improve usability and the intuitiveness of the whole software suite? And so far, our opinion has been that we want to improve sort of the foundation first before we focus on creating hundreds and hundreds of ready-made templates. But we will be discussing this in the team. But for now, the answer is no.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about usability. So do you have any idea of how you're going to make it easier for people to build templates, as they won't have templates to start with?
We have hundreds of ideas, but the question is focusing on the right ones. I mean, there are basically 3 different aspects to making Bluepic Studio more intuitive. The first one is the whole design aspect. We want to have a design interface that is as intuitive as maybe Photoshop or Canva or any other traditional design tool. The idea being that if you are a designer and have some design experience, you will feel everything will be familiar to you in Bluepic Studio. And this comes down to a lot of user interface design issues, getting having things in the right spot. So this is not necessarily we don't have to be super innovative. It just takes a lot of getting the details right. So this is something we're continuously working on. The second part is connecting the input fields. This is something which we've come a long way of making this more convenient with these drop-down menus, but I think it can still be a bit confusing. And this also comes down to getting the interface right? The functionality is there. It's not like we can't add some properties to some input fields. Everything works. It's just some people might find this confusing. Some people might have difficulty figuring out which properties they need to connect to an input field. Some maybe a different template builder tool might just say connect input field to this text object, and it'll automatically recognize that you obviously want to connect the text content to an input field. But what if you want to connect other properties of this object to an input field? And we want to be the flexible, the foundational tool where you can sort of do everything, like Microsoft Excel, where you can just sort of create every kind of Excel tool. We want to be the template builder where you can create any type of template by getting all of these interface decisions right. And the third part where usability is a big deal is having these expressions. And this I think might be the most difficult problem to solve from a user experience design standpoint, because designers, or probably most people, aren't really used to thinking in these expressions. This is something that a software developer might feel very comfortable with, coming up with these if-else statements and these kinds of stuff. But it can be challenging if you're new to this, to come up with like figuring out which subproperties I have to add in which way. And this is something where we are looking into a bunch of different options to make this more user-friendly, like having ready-made components. For example, we think that having a component library, it might be more beneficial than having ready-made templates where you can sort of drag a background, drag a title, drag a subtitle, drag a logo object, or maybe components that are like this whole section down here with one logo available on something else, stuff like that, where you can have components that are already connected to input fields and configured in some way, is something we're looking into developing. Also having more drag and drop features, right? For example, with this object, all I did here was say that I want the object to maintain a certain fixed gap of 50 pixels to this other object. And this may be something which we could potentially turn into more clickable tools, instead of typing something like this, which is just unnatural to a designer. Sometimes you might have a tool that creates connections, and then you say, okay, this is the dominant edge and this is the object that moves along with it, sort of sticking stuff together like Lego. And all of these features are ideas we're looking into, but we are moving away from the known to the unknown. I mean, everyone has seen drop-down menus before. Everyone has seen a pen tool where you can create a path and you can do things differently and improve on what has been built before. But I'm not sure if people have built in a graphic design tool features for maintaining fixed gaps like that. And so we have to come up with these new stuff here.
Yeah, no, thanks for covering that. And we did have some suggestions in the comments. And if you're still listening to this, and or you're watching on the replay, and you have some suggestions on what you think Bluepic should do, that's why they're on AppSumo. So submit your reviews, submit feedback, ask your questions there. Also submit questions and feedback to this video, because the Bluepic team would love this kind of feedback. That's the primary reason for being on AppSumo. Now, we do have another question about this, or a suggestion, and it is, will there be a marketplace where the Bluepic community can upload or share templates that they've created? I think that could be an option, so that you're not creating it, but you're relying on your community to do it for you.
That's a very interesting idea. We have talked about a whole marketplace dynamic a year ago when we were not as far along as we are today. So back then it was just at the brainstorming stage. And what we were thinking, if you are a brand and you want to create templates, many times you might not have a designer on your team, so you may be used to outsourcing. So you ask your local agency, hey, have you used the Bluepic before? And they might say no. So you might look on our marketplace for professional template designers who maybe have gone through a online course, which we could potentially offer in the future. And our idea so far has been to connect designers with brands who want templates and to have like them custom built. But the idea of creating templates ready-made and then selling them on the marketplace is very interesting. So we will look into that. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And then Anil has a question. Is there a way to integrate it with Google Sheets to generate multiple images and then save the output to a Google Drive folder?
Sort of. You can create a bunch of images using the batch editor, and you can import data from Google Sheets very easily. There's two ways. You can either download your Google Sheets, your sheets as a CSV file and then upload it in here. You can copy and paste from Google Sheets, but most of the time we've been getting a lot of questions about integrations with platforms like Make.com, Pabbly, Zapier, and I'm not sure if probably Google Sheets is connected to these platforms, I'm assuming. So this is something that's very high on our priority list, to integrate with these kinds of platforms to allow users to create their own workflows where they just have to click one button instead of a bunch to get all of their drafts into a folder. I would say this is something that's coming pretty soon, these kinds of integrations. I'm not an expert on Zapier and Pabbly and Make.com. So if you can do that with these kinds of platforms, then you will be able to do that with Bluepic.
Yeah. So that's definitely possible, because Google Sheets is inside of all of those automation platforms.
That's great.
What else is there? If there are any other questions, please submit them while Bluepic are with us.
There is one part of the software I haven't showed yet. So
yes, please share it, and then we cover some more questions as we go.
Yeah, so I have showed you the template builder, Bluepic Studio. I have shown you the team app called Bluepic Social, but there's also Bluepic Embed. And Bluepic Embed is sort of this could have been part of Bluepic Studio. It's its own standalone tool. Essentially, it's where you can manage your embed projects, or projects like this, where I'm sharing projects, templates with a direct link. And this is also where you have access to our API console. So I have already created a project. I could run through the process again. It doesn't really matter. I just jump in here, and you can select a template as long as it is published from your account, and then you can do some interface customization. There is a lot more customization options, or a lot more intuitive customizations options coming in the future. We're working very hard on a rework to have a bunch of different widget styles, which you can just simply select from a gallery. So we do have some different versions, but this is the one so far that looks best, I think. But we want to have more types of editor layouts and editor styles, some smaller, some bigger. And then you don't have to purchase a subscription if you have an AppSumo license. This is still this tab is in there from just the standard version of Bluepic, so you can just go ahead and ignore this whole part, and then you can embed this, for example, with WordPress. I did record a video. Maybe I should fix the formatting here. We have a WordPress plugin to get this done quickly and easily. You can create these custom links. We've been getting questions about custom domain support via CNAME. This is something we're looking into, something we don't have right now, but we've added this to the list of things we want to develop in the future. But you can have links that have this template.bluepic.io/ whatever you want format, as long as it's not used by someone else. And then you can also have this API console where you can figure out how our API works to get automation workflows up and running. I can't show you a lot from Bluepic Embed because it really isn't all that complicated. You build a template, that's the main part, and then you spend 5 minutes setting up your widget, which you can then share via a link. You could embed this on your website. You could use our API to automate the process. Just one thing to keep in mind is that, or we probably get into this later, but we have these different credit pools. So you have a credit pool for social, a credit pool for embed, and a credit pool for API. So downloading a template in Bluepic Social will take a social credit, and downloading one via embed, that's the standalone widget or embedded on the website, will take an embed credit. Whoops, that was the wrong tab. And the API credits are for the API use case. Yeah. That's Bluepic Embed for you.
Perfect. So you mentioned about those credits and those credit limits. I think it would be worthwhile going over the lifetime deal on AppSumo, and then covering any questions people might have about that.
Sure.
Unless there's something else you want to show on Bluepic side.
Oops. I could show you a bunch of stuff, but I think I've covered the basics.
Perfect.
And Bluepic is the kind of tool where you just have to get in there and test stuff out on your own, see what you can come up with.
Yeah, I think it's all about experience of trying something
Yeah.
and then diving deeper. And thanks for sharing that.
I mean, it's like that with every new tool, right? If you log into Canva, you have a certain expectation of what you are getting because you've heard about Canva many times from people or colleagues or whatever. But if you use something that's very new, it might just be the best way to just get started, sign up. You can sign up for free. You don't have to purchase a subscription right away. You can sign up for a free account, which will give you access to Bluepic Studio to just see if you can come up with great template designs and then purchase a subscription afterwards.
Perfect.
Okay, going over the 5 tiers. So essentially, the higher the tier, the more credits you get. But there are some other relevant points. You also have a user limit. This refers to Bluepic Social. So in Bluepic Social, as I said, it's a team-based software. You invite your team members to this shared template gallery, and the amount of users you can invite is limited. So if you have a very large team, you might want to purchase a higher tier for that reason. If you use a lot of templates and you have a lot of users using a lot of templates, or perhaps you're using the batch editor to create hundreds or potentially thousands of drafts, then you also need to purchase a higher tier because you might need more monthly credits. And starting at tier 3, you get access to Bluepic Embed and Bluepic API credits. So tier 1 and tier 2 is for the kinds of teams which want to use Bluepic for their social media content creation, or perhaps use the batch editor to create custom invites or something. But this is all about using Bluepic within your team, not sharing it publicly. And starting from tier 3 and onwards, you get the options to share your templates publicly, either by embedding them on your website, sharing them via a link, or using the API to run workflow automations. And then tier 4 gives you 10,000 monthly credits in each pool. So 10,000 social credits, 10,000 embed credits, 10,000 API credits. They refill each month. You get up to 100 users in Bluepic Social. So this would be enough for a very large team. And tier 5 gives you an unlimited amount of users in Bluepic Social. So if you are a very large enterprise looking to include hundreds of employees into your template creation process, tier 5 is for you. Tier 5 is also for you if you just plan on using and sharing templates with a lot of people using a lot of API credits. And just the amount of credits you get with tier 5 means you're probably never running out of any, because this is just quite a lot. So best bet is to go big.
Yeah, and especially if you want to share and embed it on all the other places that you can embed it on.
I mean, you have no guarantee for how many people are going to use it. If you embed a template on your website, you might get thousands of site visitors downloading thousands of images. So just your best bet is to keep it safe and have lots of credits.
Yeah. So, and it's good that you've got like and that's more like for enterprise, but for the solopreneurs, probably go with tier 1 or 2, and again,
or tier 3 if you want to have the
API
option.
Yeah, but also there's a 60-day money back guarantee, so there's plenty of time for you to try it out, get inside, and see if it is a fit for your business with AppSumo. What else do they get with what? So there's tier 1, tier 2, all the way up to tier 3. What could you just go over like the main things, like what do they get in the account for?
Yeah. So if you purchase tier 1, for example, you get access to, I mean, in every tier you get access to the whole template suite, except in tier 3 you can't really use Bluepic Embed. You still get access, you just can't download the drafts. because you don't have the credits unless you go tier 3, tier 4, or tier 5. But feature-wise, there really are no limitations. You can have an unlimited amount of templates. You can unlimited amount of projects in Bluepic Studio. You get access to Bluepic Social. You get access to the batch editor right away. There is a limit on the asset library in Bluepic Studio. So that means the amount of images you can upload in here. This does not refer to the assets the template users might upload as they're using this. And the limit is solely to avoid targeted abuse. But if you are a very large agency and you're creating dozens, hundreds of templates, just contact support. We can increase the limit for your account as long as we know who you are, I guess. Where was I? Yeah. And then you get this whole team management. Yeah.
Okay,
not much
cool.
to say there.
No, that's great. Thanks for covering the deal. Now, we'll wrap up, but I do want to cover two major things. Do you have a roadmap?
Yeah.
And in that roadmap, what are you looking forward to releasing next, or what can you share that is coming soon or being improved?
Yeah, we have a public roadmap, which is at bluepic.io/roadmap. It's embedded here. I'm using this project management tool to to show all the small features and stuff we have already decided on doing. It's currently in German. I can't turn. It'll be localized, so this will be in English for you. Doesn't really matter. So the priorities are how much we would want this feature, but we aren't sorting this solely by priority. We're also looking at how much time and effort it would take to develop these features. This is something you can't see on here, but we might develop a feature that has a lower priority, but is very easy to do before we implement something of a higher priority that might take a month or two in development. So keep that in mind. But all of this stuff is stuff we would like to implement within the next, I don't want to make any firm commitments, but so let's say a year should be fine. Because this is not very easy to talk about in this form, I have created this graphic. I will probably share this on the website as well. This is sort of is essentially the same stuff, just broken down into 4 main initiatives we're basically working on, and they also are prioritized. So the stuff we're focused on most at the moment is making Bluepic Studio, our template builder, easier and more intuitive and better to use. So we are looking to improve performance. That means more browser compatibility, more reliability, more just faster speeds and implementing features like autosave. We want to improve the design experience by having more intuitive tools, adding stuff like keyboard shortcuts and things like that. We want to improve the form building experience by having just more intuitive, more understandable components, maybe a few more components, so you don't have to have these generalized components and configure them in different ways every time. Maybe you want to have 5 different sorts of selections, color selection, image selection, this kind of stuff. So we're looking to diversify the input form portfolio. And then also about expressions, having better in-app help, better shortcuts, better explanations for this kind of stuff. So Bluepic Studio is, I guess, and will be for a while, our main priority, because it is the first thing you interact with when you're using Bluepic Studio, Bluepic, and this the part of it which has to work really, really well. And then we want to improve Bluepic Embed by having, as I've mentioned before, a more widget style gallery type of customization where you have maybe 15 different styles to select from. And also right now we are embedding using via iframe, but we're also working on embedding via JavaScript, which would give us more flexibility and more performance. Then the big thing we're working on, but we're working on this slowly, this is something we've learned our lesson to take our time with this kind of stuff, is what we're calling Bluepic 2.0. And essentially, we want to get rid of this fragmentation where we have these different tools. We want to unify this whole software suite into one platform. But this does bring some challenges with it. So there was a good reason why we did it this way, because when you're starting developing a tool like this, you're starting. We started with this prototype and a very specific idea of what it was used for because of this major use case which we've had. And then over time, as we talk to more customers, more clients, we are sort of moving from this very specific solution to a more generalized solution. And after a while, we realized that we wanted to change some things up, maybe don't differentiate between embedding links, API, and this kind of stuff, but more differentiate between sharing templates privately and publicly, because this is really important for the pricing scheme, because most of the time what people really care about is not whether you can embed it on your website or share it with a link. It's more about, do you share this publicly or privately? And this has to be reflected in how we communicate our platform and our solution. And also we want to get rid of social spaces and move to platform-wide organizations. So we want to essentially simplify the way you get templates into your gallery. It's a little different. I would need another 30 minutes to explain what all of this is. I think I'm not really doing a good job right now, but
No, you're
I
doing
might
fantastic.
I
You're doing
might
fantastic.
do a
No,
YouTube video on this in a
no, this
while.
is perfect. Thanks for going over what I think it's important that you're prioritizing the simplicity of the platform
Yeah,
and the user experience. It's something that's come up a lot in this live stream. So I think you're focusing on the right things, and
thank
then
you.
the improved functionality in embed. I agree with you. There's one other question that's popped up. Joe
Yeah.
has asked, can we upload custom fonts, Google, Adobe fonts?
Yes. You can upload custom fonts if you have the files on your device. The whole Google font library is already preloaded. So just to demonstrate, you can go in here and select from all of the different Google fonts. You can upload a custom font if you have TTF or OTF files. I'm not sure right now which files. You can look this up and learn bluepic.io, which file formats are supported, but just the common ones are supported. So yeah, you can upload any custom font you need.
Yeah, this has been perfect. Thanks for taking the time. And Bluepic was picked because it's a new arrival and is a top performing deal. So go and check it out on AppSumo. The lifetime deal is a no brainer. And remember, you can try it for up to 60 days. And then, there's plenty of tiers to pick from small teams all the way to enterprise plans. So, do you have any final words for people that have just picked Bluepic? And what's like your advice on where they should start?
Don't shy away from using this little friend here, asking questions, getting in contact with one of our support members. So that's me and my colleague right now. And also, please share your templates with me. I'd be very, very interested to see the designs. Obviously, we can't see all of the templates you create. They're in your account, but if you want to share them with me, I'd be very interested to see what you're doing, and I'd be happy to give advice on creating templates with Bluepic, because I do have the most experience with creating templates in Bluepic in the whole world, because I've been doing this for the longest time. But stick with it. Keep us in the loop. We'd be happy to help you out. We'd be happy to work on feedback you give us. Bluepic can't be a great product if it's just us sitting here in our office just developing all day. We have to be in a dialogue with our users. We have to develop the kinds of features that you need, not what we would want, but what you need. So let us know what you need by giving us reviews, by asking questions, by getting in touch with us. I've been having really, really lovely conversations with some of the users over the past few days who have started talking to us over this support widget and sending us their designs and letting me look over them. So it's very enjoyable to me. Very
Yeah,
proud.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for everybody who attended and has asked some questions as well. And please suggest in the comments as well when you're watching on the replay. So I think we'll end it there, right on time. Thank you so much, Thomas, for joining me.